Today we're going to explore something really powerful called the shadowing technique. What exactly is shadowing? Well, it's a method where you listen to English speech and immediately repeat what you hear, almost like becoming the speaker's echo. This approach offers incredible benefits for English learners. It simultaneously improves your pronunciation, helps you understand English better when you listen, and makes your speaking much more fluent. Throughout today's story, I want you to try something. After each sentence, pause the video and repeat what you just heard out loud. Are you ready? Let's dive into the story.
My name is Amelia. I am 26 years old. I work as a teacher in a small town school. I have a fiancé named David. We have been together for 3 years. We plan to get married next month. I was so excited. I had my dress ready. We had booked the church. Everything seemed perfect. But yesterday, something happened that changed everything. I was walking home from work. It was a cold Tuesday evening. The streets were quiet. I decided to surprise David. I bought his favorite pizza from Tony's restaurant. I wanted to make him happy. I walked to his apartment building on Maple Street. I climbed the stairs to the 3rd floor. I had my own key. David gave it to me last year. I opened the door quietly. I wanted to surprise him, but then I heard something. Voices. A woman's voice. And David's voice. They were laughing together in the living room. I stopped walking. My heart started beating fast. Who was this woman? I had never heard her voice before. I walked closer to the door. I could hear them talking clearly. The woman said, "David, I missed you so much." He said, "I missed you too, Emma. You look beautiful tonight. Your hair looks amazing." Emma? Who was Emma? I had never heard this name before. David never mentioned anyone named Emma. I felt cold. My hands were shaking. I put the pizza box on the floor. I listened more. Emma said, "Are you sure she doesn't know about us?" David said, "No, she has no idea. She trusts me completely. She's so naive." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. My own fiancé was talking about me. With another woman. In our home. The home we shared together. I walked to the living room door. I looked through the small gap. David was sitting on our couch. The couch we bought together. Next to him was a beautiful woman with long blonde hair. She was wearing a red dress. A very expensive-looking dress. They were holding hands. Then something terrible happened. David kissed her. A long, deep kiss. I felt like someone hit me in the stomach. I couldn't breathe. I wanted to scream. But I stayed quiet. I needed to know more. I needed to understand what was happening. Emma said, "When are you going to tell her?" David said, "After the wedding. I need her money first. Her family is rich. Very rich." I was shocked. He wanted to marry me for money? Emma laughed and said, "You are so smart, David. Then we can be together forever. Just like we planned." David continued talking. He said, "My plan is working perfectly. Amelia thinks I love her. But I only love her bank account. And her family's money." Emma giggled. She said, "What if she finds out before the wedding?" David said, "She won't. She's too busy planning the wedding. She doesn't pay attention to anything else. She's completely focused on the dress and flowers. I felt sick hearing these words. But then Emma said something that made my blood freeze. She said, "David, what about the insurance money we talked about?" "Insurance money? What insurance money?" David said, "Don't worry. After we're married, I'll increase her life insurance. Then, if something happens to her, we'll be very rich." My hands started shaking. Were they planning to hurt me? To kill me? I couldn't believe what I was hearing. This was like a nightmare. Emma said, "Are you sure this will work?" David said, "Trust me. I've done this before." Emma looked surprised. She said, "What do you mean? You've done this before?" David's voice got quiet. He said, "My first wife. She had an accident 2 years ago. I got a lot of money from her insurance. Almost $1 million. First wife? What first wife?" David told me he had never been married. He said I was his first serious girlfriend. Emma looked shocked too. She said, "You never told me you were married before." David said, "There are many things I haven't told you. But now you know. I'm very good at making money from women. Very good at this business. I wanted to run. I wanted to call the police. But I needed to hear more. I needed proof." I took out my phone quietly. Emma asked, "What happened to your first wife?" David smiled. It was a cold, scary smile. He said, "She fell down the stairs. At home. Very sad accident. The police believed everything I told them." My heart stopped. He had killed his first wife. And now he was planning to do the same to me. I started recording everything on my phone. Emma said, "David, this is scary. I don't want to be part of murder." David held her hand. He said, "It's not murder if it looks like an accident. No one will suspect anything." He continued, "Amelia likes to walk alone at night. Sometimes near the old bridge by the river. It's very dangerous there. The rocks are slippery. People fall all the time." I realized he was talking about my evening walks. I loved walking by the river. The old stone bridge was my favorite place. I went there to think and relax. Emma still looked worried. She said, "What if someone suspects us?" David said, "Who would suspect us? I'm the loving fiancé. You're just a friend who works with me." David stood up. He walked to a drawer. He took out some papers. He showed them to Emma. He said, "Look. This is Amelia's life insurance policy. $500,000. 500,000? I had never signed such a policy. David must have forged my signature." Emma looked at the papers. She said, "When did she sign this? Her signature looks perfect." David laughed. He said, "She didn't sign it. I'm very good at copying signatures. I learned this skill years ago. I practiced for months. I had heard enough. I had all the proof I needed. But as I tried to move, I stepped on a loose floorboard. It made a loud creaking sound. David and Emma stopped talking. They looked toward the door. David said, "What was that sound?" Emma said, "Maybe it's a cat outside. Or the wind." But David stood up. He walked toward the door. I quickly moved away. I hid behind the kitchen counter. My heart was beating so loud. I was afraid they could hear it. David opened the living room door. He looked around. He said, "That's strange. I thought I heard something. Like footsteps." Emma called from the couch, "Come back, David. You're making me nervous." David closed the door. But I could hear him talking. He said, "Emma, I think someone might be listening. We should be more careful. Very careful." Emma said, "Maybe we should meet somewhere else next time." David agreed. He said, "Yes. Let's meet at the old warehouse tomorrow night. 9 o'clock sharp. The one by the train tracks." I memorized the information. The old warehouse at 9 o'clock. I needed to tell someone. I needed help. Fast. I waited until they went to the bedroom. Then I quietly left the apartment. Outside, I was shaking. I couldn't believe what I had discovered. My whole life was a lie. I went home. I called my sister, Sarah. She didn't answer. I called again. Finally, she picked up. "Amelia, what's wrong? You sound terrified. What happened?" I told her everything. The cheating, the money, the insurance, the murder. Sarah was silent for a long time. Then she said, "Amelia, you need to call the police right now. This is very dangerous." I said, "But what if they don't believe me?" Sarah said, "You have recordings. You have proof. This is very serious. David is dangerous. Very dangerous." That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about David's first wife. How did she really die? Was it really an accident? What was her name? The next morning, I went to the police station. I spoke to Detective Miller. He was a kind older man with gray hair. He listened to everything I said very carefully. I showed him the recordings. He listened with a serious face. His expression became very worried. He said, "Miss Amelia, you are in great danger. We need to protect you immediately." Detective Miller explained the plan. He said, "Tonight, we will follow David to the warehouse. We will record his conversation with Emma. Then we will arrest him for conspiracy and murder." I felt scared but also relieved. Finally, someone was helping me. Detective Miller said, "Don't go home tonight. Stay with your sister. David might suspect something." That evening, I waited at Sarah's house. We watched the clock. 8 o'clock. 8:30. 9 o'clock came. 9:30. 10 o'clock. I was so nervous. My hands wouldn't stop shaking. Finally, at 10:30, Detective Miller called. He said, "We got him, Amelia. David confessed everything. He admitted to killing his first wife. He admitted to planning your murder. He also admitted to forging your signature." I started crying. Not sad tears. Relief tears. I was safe. David could never hurt me again. Sarah hugged me tightly. Detective Miller continued, "Emma is helping us now. She was scared. She didn't want to be part of murder. She will testify against David in court." The next day, the whole town knew the story. David was arrested for murder and conspiracy. The newspapers wrote about it. People were shocked. They called me brave and lucky. Some people said I was smart to discover the truth. But I didn't feel smart. I felt stupid. How could I live with a killer for 3 years? How could I not see the signs? David's first wife was named Lisa. She was only 24 when she died. Her family was so grateful to know the truth. They thanked me for being brave. They said Lisa could finally rest in peace. The trial lasted 3 months. I had to testify. It was scary but necessary. David looked at me with angry eyes. But I wasn't afraid anymore. I told the truth. The jury found David guilty. He was sentenced to life in prison without parole. Emma got 5 years because she helped the police. Now, 6 months later, I'm starting a new life. I moved to a different town called Riverside. I have a new job at a beautiful elementary school. The children are wonderful. I learned something important. Sometimes, the people we trust the most are the ones who hurt us the most. But we can survive. We can be strong. We can start over. I'm not ready for love yet, but I'm ready for happiness. And that's enough for now. Thank you for joining me today, and I'll see you in the next English learning adventure. Your likes and comments help other English learners discover these shadowing practice videos and improve their listening skills. Remember to practice the shadowing technique by replaying this story and repeating each sentence out loud. Stay strong, stay curious, and keep practicing your English.